Hello and welcome back to the channel. This episode is going to be all about the Plucky Squire. So the Plucky Squire was one of my most anticipated games to come out in 2024, and I'm not quite sure if it lives up to the hype that I gave it. I am someone who grew up with platformers. I loved them, and the Plucky Squire was a platformer that would mix 2D and 3D aspects, and it would have a great storyline and fun characters, and I was thrilled. Every single day I would check the official Twitter for this and I would see what was up with it, and I was so excited. I got it like the day it came out. I streamed my entire gameplay on YouTube and Twitch, and I quickly realized this game might not have been what I expected. So if you are unfamiliar with the Plucky Squire, you take control of 𝕽𝕚𝕟𝕕, the Plucky Squire that is the main character in a storybook sitting in a child's bedroom. Now, the main kerfuffle is surrounding the fact that all these characters in the storybook are in fact just characters. They're not real people. They are stuck in a storybook with a predetermined ending. And the predetermined ending, like most storybooks, is the good guy, aka 𝕽𝕚𝕽, defeats the villain. In this story, that villain is 𝕚𝕚𝕟𝕚. Now, 𝕚𝕚𝕟𝕚 the villain is the first one to realize that they are stuck in a story, predetermined results, and he's the one that is always losing. So he gains the power somehow to expel people from the book, and his first victim is 𝕽𝕚𝕽. After being tossed from the pages of his own storybook, he runs into Paige the bookworm, and she becomes a sort of assistant for him to guide him outside on the table of the child's bedroom. Now you have the power to jump in and out of the storybook, so you are even more powerful now. You can gain stuff like different gauntlets from the table, come back in and use them in the storybook. So now that your world has been thrown upside down, you team up with your childhood friends Violet, who is a mage, and Thresh, who is the musical muscle. Now, like any other platformer, there's a bunch of collectibles and puzzles to go through. Most of the puzzles are quite simple. They're not anything too head-scratching. And one of the main things that they were selling this on is the use of their word puzzles. There will be different sentences written on the floor, and one of the words in the sentence can be removed. So you can play around with the door was broken, the door was steel, the door was gold. You can change the mass of blocks, you can change the size of an enemy. These things are probably one of the more unique aspects of this game, and it was pushed a lot in the promotional material, and it was actually something that caught my eye before they really showed the 3D and 2D aspects that were in it too. Now for the collectibles, there are a small handful. There are a handful of shops that you will come across, and the currency is light bulbs. You can get them from defeating enemies. Make sure to shake all the trees, make sure to cut through all of the grass, and they will be abundant. Now in these shops you can buy different power-ups, like a spin attack, or you can throw your sword, and you can also upgrade those. Now the true collectibles that you can get from these shops are the pieces of artwork. Now the Plucky Squire has probably one of the most unique forms of art in the collectible forms, and that is because all of the art pieces are past versions of characters or scrapped ideas for some part of the world. Seeing what would be in an official art book just put in as a collectible item, it really kind of shows all of the detail, the work, effort, and ideas that the team that created this game went through before creating and finishing the final product. So by far, the art pieces are my favorite aspect of the game's collectibles. Now the other ones are a bit more difficult to find. They're glitch birds, and they can be found hidden, truly hidden, throughout different parts of the world. Some might be hidden behind stuff that you have to cut down, or they can be hidden under objects. Now there's 10 of them in total, and trust me, they're going to be very, very hard to find. I haven't even found all of them. The overall gameplay is broken into 10 chapters, and each section, each new chapter, will bring you to a different part of the land, and you basically are just going to help defeat some bosses, help some people there, and move on to the next one. It's pretty short, sweet, simple. You will slowly see the development of the characters in your party. There is actually a lot of character development for both Thresh and Violet, which I really liked. Now, don't be worried if you might not be the best at trying to figure out a linear storyline or any kind of puzzles. The main guide for your team is called Moonbeard, And even though he himself is not with you every step of the way, you will oftentimes find smaller versions of him called Mini Beard. If you go and talk to any Mini Beard you find, he will give you a simple hint, maybe something to help you figure out the sentence puzzle on the ground that you are stuck on, or maybe help you figure out how you need to use different enemies or objects around you in order to progress through the area. I did really like this aspect because there were some times where I was just really stumped about what I needed to do to solve some kind of puzzle, and it was really nice to not have to Google something. Now, I did mention that this game didn't really live up to the hype for me, and that is mainly just due to kind of the pacing and overall gameplay. Now, don't get me wrong, the gameplay was very, very fun, but it was pretty simplistic. I was kind of expecting a bit more, maybe some more puzzles, something, and the dialogue. Now, all of the characters, they're very funny. There's a lot of references in them. The writing is great, but it feels like it goes on for like a beat or two too long for a lot of the areas, and it just made the pacing for the overall game progression feel a bit sluggish. I'm not really sure how you would change that except for cutting some of the dialogue, but I wouldn't suggest cutting any of like the crucial stuff, mainly just like the stuff that's tagged on at the end that's really not needed. But I do really love how each character has their own kind of unique way of speaking. It really adds to the personality, and also because of that leads to the ability to have them have such good character progression throughout the story, and that was one aspect that I really did love about the game. Now, when it comes to all of the chapters are all not equal to each other. Now, I did find that in the beginning, it seems like they had more stuff to maybe work with, and it was longer, it felt more fleshed out, and by the time I would get to the later chapters, it felt like, for lack of better words, rinse and repeat. I will say I was a bit disappointed with how fast the ending few went. I really was expecting some more, but I mean, they did wrap up everything, so I can't even really say that it was rushed. It just kind of felt rushed to me because it was so short compared to everything else. But it did wrap everything up. Now, I played this pretty relatively close to the release date. I did play it on Steam, and I did run into some game-breaking bugs. Now, there have been patches put in, and I'm hoping that what I'm about to describe is patched out of the game, and if you're playing it now, you don't have issues with that. But just in case you might run into something like this still, I did run into some issues to where I would have to restart the area for my last save point, so I would lose like a minute or two. This happened maybe 3 or 4 times. It was frustrating because obviously you don't like having to go through stuff and like go through more storylines that you've already read that are already kind of bloated. The main issue I had was during one scene, I couldn't progress at all, no matter what I seemed to do, because the camera wouldn't pan to where I needed it to be for my character to come onto the screen. Now, this actually resulted in me having to stop playing for that session because I couldn't figure out what to do. I would restart it, I would go to a different, I would go to the past checkpoint. I couldn't figure out what to do. I would restart, go to the last checkpoint that I was at, just like all the others, but I couldn't progress. It was the camera that was at fault, and I didn't know what to do. I was extremely frustrated. And it wasn't until I was told I had to redo from a different save point that I was finally able to progress. And I very much hope that that one was patched out. But I did notice when I looked up to try and find some support online that this was not limited to the Steam version. This was also on basically all the consoles that the game had been released on. So this is why I'm still including it, because that's a lot of issues to patch out just here and there, where it was game-breaking bugs, like you couldn't use an ability, like your game got stuck. So do be aware that there might still be 1 or 2 lingering around. I really do hope that it has been patched out for everything that they could find, because that was really frustrating. And I did want to bring it up, and I had been told by my friends over at Minimap that I should bring this up just in case, because that was an issue. Now, because they've been actively patching stuff, like I said, I really hope that it's not an issue. But I will say overall it was a pretty good game. I don't think it's going to be my game of the year like I had anticipated it be, but I would give it maybe a solid 7 out of 10. I thought that the story was good, dialogue was a bit bloated. I thought the combat was good but a bit simplistic. I thought the puzzles, again, were good but could have used some more. I did really like how they combined the aspect of you go out into the overworld and you get to bring it back into the book. There was a lot of ways that you could manipulate the book to solve puzzles in the game. I did really enjoy that, but the overall game felt a bit slow in like the movement, and then the ending to me felt rushed, but I don't think I can say that it was truly rushed. I think I just have to put that was my perspective on it. But there were some very amazing like aspects of creativity in the game, the way they were using tones and the colors to portray the mood of the setting that you were in. I thought that was amazing. Overall, it was a good game, and I will still be recommending this to people, but I won't be raving about it like I was hoping I would be able to. So I think that's all I really have to say about this game. It was surprisingly a short amount of information that I had on this game for what really felt like a long game when I was playing it. Now, if you have played the Plucky Squire, please let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. I would love to see if people have different opinions for all of the stuff that I've mentioned here. And if you haven't played the Plucky Squire, but my recommendations have swayed you a bit, please let me know down below. And that's going to be it for me today. If you liked this video, give me a thumbs up to let me know I did a good job, and it will keep my videos coming onto your For You page. And if you want to go the extra mile, give me a subscribe so you don't lose me in the sea of YouTube content. And I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you in a future video. Bye guys.